Aloha and welcome to the show. The 692nd Podcast is a platform for developing and connecting with our airmen across the island and those now serving on the mainland. Tune in for episodes where we talk all things leadership and personal development while getting a glimpse into the lives of the people moving our missions forward. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Derek Addison, and this is the 692nd Podcast. Welcome, Knights, Tigers, Hawks, Warriors, and Krakens. Our next airman deserving of the group's bragging comes from the 392nd Intelligence Squadron Commander Support Staff. A1C Borgonia is one of the silent champions that makes sure all of the administrative tasks are done behind the scenes so that the rest of us can focus on the mission. Always smiling and willing to help when customers come in, she thrives in a customer service role and is passionate about helping others. As you will hear in the interview, we recorded on her 1-year anniversary in the Air Force, so next time you go through the CSS in 1073, please ensure you congratulate her on the first year of a long career ahead. As you will hear, though, the year anniversary isn't the only thing you will need to congratulate her on. You'll understand after you listen to the episode. Please enjoy this conversation with A1C Libreshia Borgonia. All right, so welcome. I'm here with, is it Libreshia?
Yes, sir.
All right. You have a really long name.
It's very, very long.
Libreshia Carmencita. Is it Borgonia or
Borgonia.
Borgonia? So it's not a j sound.
Sir.
All right, Borgonia, and you go by Libby.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And what's your hometown?
Port Orchard, Washington.
Port Orchard.
Port Orchard.
I can't even speak English now. Port Orchard.
It's kind of it's across the water from Seattle.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of ports over there, obviously because of all the water. And the Navy's got a big presence over there.
Yes.
Were you a Navy brat?
No, I was not.
Okay.
My dad was in the Army, though.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did he get stationed in Washington, and that was where you settled?
Yes.
Okay. So he was at Fort Drum?
I think so.
I don't know what's over there. Fort McCord?
McCord.
Okay.
McCord?
That's a joint base, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay. All right. And you are married?
Yes, sir.
And your husband is in the military or not?
Yes, he is in the Navy.
He's in the Navy. Did you meet him here?
No,
Oh,
I met
okay.
him back in Washington.
Okay. All right. So there is some Navy ties. And his name is
Christian.
Christian?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any children?
I'm actually expecting in September.
That's great. In September.
Yes.
Do you want more children, or are you going to see how it goes after the first?
I definitely want more children, but we'll see.
Yeah. Initially, when me and my wife got married, I was telling her that I want 12 children. I want like a whole band of like ninjas. Then we had one, and I was like, I'm actually good with one. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah. And then, of course, we decided to have a couple more. So, yeah, I recommend having one. See how you like it. It's too late at that point, but still, yeah, kids are amazing. So you're due in September. And how long have you been married?
For about actually my first year anniversary came up in November.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to do anything?
We went to Michelle's, the restaurant in
All right.
Waikiki.
That's good.
I surprised him with it, so.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I know we didn't get to do anything, obviously, me and my wife, due to COVID, and our anniversary's in July. So, and it was half, everyone's getting locked down. Maybe it's going to open back up. It was back and forth at that point. So we didn't really get to do anything, which is fine, I guess today. But as the vaccines come out and as things open back up, I hope we get to make up for some of that lost time. So your AFSC is a 3 Foxtrot 531.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
So I am an admin.
Okay.
So I just kind of work on computers to do paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
I work in the CSS, so I support like the commander, and I help route things up to her and I work on like evals as well.
Okay.
It's just a lot of paperwork and everything, but I like my job. I love it. I love everyone that I work with. They're very supportive, and I like it.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people, especially in an intelligence group and wing, they probably don't understand all the different jobs that are kind of entailed into what a commander support staff is. I believe a couple years ago when me and another tech sergeant, we headed up this team called Team Galahad. It had to have a cool acronym name, otherwise it didn't go forward. So we didn't pick Galahad, but we made it into an acronym, a backronym, and then went with it. But in Team Galahad, we looked at all the different programs of a CSS and try to see what type of data that comes in that you guys need to kind of facilitate all of your programs. Obviously, basics, first, middle, last, social, AFSC, what their skill level is. Obviously, it's part of their AFSC, but whether it's control AFSC or primary AFSC, things like that. And it was really kind of shocking to me, even though I was a tech sergeant and I'd been in for a little while, I did not know that the CSS can have up to 65 different unique tasks / like jobs. I've never realized how much that a CSS could be doing, whether I think they're doing it or not. It's very impressive. I would hate to see your CDCs or your SKT on WAPS testing. I don't know. They'd have to just pick a question from each task or program. Let me start with why you're here. So this kind of episode of the podcast is called Bragging on My Airmen. And so you've been called out by your peers or leadership or both for being awesome. We're just going to have a sit-down conversation to kind of find out what makes you awesome, both personally and professionally, and everything that you do for your unit, but also as the group, for the group as a whole. I know that recently you're in the 392nd.
Yes, sir.
I know that recently in the 392nd, there's a lot of leadership change that's been going on in the CSS.
Yes, sir.
Specifically. I know that you've lost a few personnelists up to site and PCSs. Your boss said that specifically you stepped up to make sure that all that flight leadership transition went really well, and that you're also the primary for the intro program. So all the sponsorship and things like that. Some people have really good experiences, some people not so much. I can give you an example of both just in my career. But what stood out, I think, to me was the ideas of gift baskets.
Yes, sir.
So what do you do? Explain the gift basket.
So for our gift baskets, it's kind of a little baggie with like 2 waters, chocolates, like the Hawaiian chocolates. And then we have like stuff from the art program, a map, and some information about our squadron and everything that if they could have questions about it. It's just kind of like a welcome to Hawaii. If you have any questions, feel free to like contact us.
Yeah. Yeah, 392nd is a very unique squadron in the fact that you are extremely separated from everyone in the squadron. You guys are, the personnel in 392nd are spread across 7 different locations. And I think that's obviously, and that's across the island. So does your map say like, hey, this is one of the 7 places you could be working?
Sadly, no. It's just more of the base.
Okay.
For more of like the incoming airmen that will be on the in the dorms. It'll help them get a familiar with the base in general. So.
Yeah. Quickest way to work. Things like that. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's important for the base whenever, as you're in processing, knowing where Hangar 2 is and things like that for the MPS, knowing where the med group's at and all that type of stuff for all the in processing. I'm assuming they don't do the newcomers briefing at the community center anymore?
No, because of COVID, we do it over WebEx now.
Okay. And the group does a group-wide newcomers briefing as well every quarter, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you participate in that, or is someone else in your squadron doing that?
Someone else in my squadron. I know last time I joined in on it. It's more of just me clicking the slides and stuff. Anything that could help out the squadron, I will definitely do.
Cool. When we talk about EPRs and evaluations, not just EPRs, I guess OPRs as well. Currently, all of the enlisted have these SCOD. What does the S stand for?
Static.
Static.
Yes.
Oh my God. That was rough. Closeout dates. So I'm going to delete all that out of there. So all of the enlisted have static closeout dates now, the SCODs. Prior to those SCOD closeouts, everyone has to make sure that all their records are up to date, at least to the best of their ability. You, as a CSS, have a role in that. What do you do for people's, maybe there's mil PDS updates?
So it's pretty new, but every month or so, we ask for a alpha roster for each flight, whether it's just for new supervisors, new jobs, anything that they need updates in MilPDS. And then we'll update that. And then when the accounting date comes up, we'll send out the VPC sites. So I'll go in, save the shell report, and then send it out to the raters or the flight chiefs. And then once the EPR is comes to roll around, they'll send it back, and then we'll review it. And then once it's ready to go, or if it has corrections, we'll do them, and then we'll send it up to the shirt.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that as well, that the CSS for the 392nd is also the CSS for the group staff. So the personnel that are in group staff are also added into the amount of work that you guys do at the CSS.
Yes.
For those MilPDS updates for those SCOD, you're changing probably flight information, supervisor information, duty position or duty title. Are you updating anything else? The date of supervision start and all of that type of stuff?
So whenever we change the new supervisors or a new duty title, we always have to ask for the effective date. So for EPRs and stuff, they'll know when the new supervision began.
Right.
So the number of supervision is correct.
Okay. Yeah, so it says here just for the previous few months that obviously we've had airman EPRs that close out March 31st, staff sergeant that closed out or that will close out in a couple of days, January 31st, as today is January 28th when we're doing the interview. For the last few months that you've been doing these updates, your boss calculated to about 1,400 data points that you've had to update. Yeah? Does it feel accurate? Yes. And I'm sure that once you do a MilPDS update, I'm sure it takes every time and it just goes through the system because MilPDS has no issues whatsoever. So you never have to duplicate work, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Your boss also said that you are very, let's say, self-motivated to learning different systems. So you had to learn CMS, case management system. What is case management system?
So it's mostly for routing, reenlistments and extensions. If you have any pay problems, it's just for us to get it up to MPF or AFPC. It's another way so we could keep in contact and know the remarks and everything that we send up to them, and they can send it right back to us. It's easier than just going in person because it's very back and forth. Right. It's just all digital. Yeah. I like it personally, but
I think it's a lot better, obviously, whenever I tried to do an extension here or I needed to extend or I needed to re-enlist. It was really simple because originally you'd always go to the MPS. Then you have to sit there for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on if they had a person available for you, or you make an appointment and you have to come back. And then you sit there and you explain all the different things and they go over your options. Sometimes they are not the most accurate with their information. I do know one instance where I almost was removed from the Air Force because I didn't re-enlist in time. And I was like, well, I was told I couldn't re-enlist. So that was a lot of fun. It's a lot easier. I think it's a lot better knowing that I have someone in my group that I can just go over to their desk and say, I'm confused. What do I need to do? And someone can walk me through the process, or they have access to a case management system that can send up emails or notifications to AFPC or MilPDS or wherever we need to make updates to. And what do you do for DROS management?
So I'm still learning on that one. It's just kind of, they send us everyone that's in a certain time to see if they wanted to extend their DROs, if they wanted to keep it. It's just kind of us sending out emails notifying the member, and then them coming back to us I'm gonna keep the same or I want to extend, and then that goes into CMS cases, and it's a lot of work, but
yeah. Is there a different process if let's say I wanted to extend versus I want to keep original DROS, or I want to request an indefinite DROS? Is there more work that you have to do, or is it just a different process?
It's just another process, so to say. It's just different worksheets and different how do I say it? Different ways to go about it.
Okay.
Like some of them, you just need a signature, and then we could route it up to the CMS. Others, you'll probably need like the commander's signature, like for RIPs, for like IPCODing or any of
Right.
that.
So your boss said that you took upon that yourself to learn all these different programs and different functions of and kind of a CSS, but also what we would historically or traditionally think of as the MPS.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that we're going to kind of migrate to? Are we going to kind of reduce the amount of responsibilities for the MPS, or are they just going to be the overarching kind of guidance bearers? And the squadron CSSs, I know that, a few years back, a lot of Air Force leadership said we're going to revitalize the squadrons.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember when we took away CSSs and said, you don't need CSSs anymore, everything's going to be done in the MPS. We are going away from that now because we realize that that's got issues.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with that, to put it gently, I guess. Is that something, in your opinion, being in that role, do you feel like that's a squadron thing that we're taking back for a reason, or maybe just something that is just the way we're going now? Is there a reason behind it?
Personally, I think that it's probably just something that we wanted to do to help more of the process to go faster. Because I've only been in for a year. Actually, today is my 1 year of being in the Air Force.
Congratulations.
Too. Thank you.
January 28th. Got it.
But I feel like it's something to be faster on to help our own members and everything to get what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because probably, I'm not sure in the past if it was a lot of waiting around, and
there was.
Definitely. So it's probably a lot more faster on our end now to try to be a step to help them into the right way and to the right path. So
I think the revitalization of the squadron is important. I know that commanders appreciate it a lot more because when we got rid of CSSs, having lieutenant colonels and full bird colonels go to the MPS and have to wait in line and things like that, because you never know what type of service you're going to receive depending on which base you're at and everything. And the leadership of that MPS is very important. And their manning levels, all those things definitely affect kind of the overall environment. Like I said, just a CSS, with the responsibilities that it could take on from an MPS is up to 65 programs is a lot. Oh yeah, and you have to deal with customers too, so which is a lot. I understand. So don't worry, I'm not going to ask you any specifics. You don't have to call anyone out. So is there anything that you want to say about the people you work with? Or obviously we can cut out everything that you say. So if you don't want to say anything nice, that's fine too. But is there something, you said you enjoy everyone you work with. And I believe that's extremely important because I could love my job, but if I dread going to the office because of, the people that I work with, that's really going to affect my work and affect my mental health and everything else. So, but you said you enjoy everyone that you work with.
Yes. It's nice because, I'm the only, besides like Airman Sosa and Airman Weller, but they're kind of with the commander because they're the executives and everything.
Right.
So in the CSS, it's kind of just me as an airman by myself, and everyone else is like a sergeant and higher. So they're really nice and kind to help and guide me in any way possible, and I'm forever like grateful for that. And like the leadership in general, they're genuine and they care about every airman. Like they're always coming to me asking how I am, like how'd my weekend go, like if I'm okay. And it's nice because before going into the military here, like no one really cares. Like it's going to be a complete 180 from what you were thinking. And coming in, I'm just thinking everyone's going to be mean. No one's going to really care. And I come to this base and everyone's just super nice and they're always wanting to teach me. And I love learning from them. So
I talked a little bit about on the last episode about how I hope that every senior NCO and CGO and above wants to make sure that every person, airman or officer, doesn't matter, every big A airman that comes after us is given all the tools that we were never given, or learns the things that we maybe had to learn a hard way or the hard way, depending on what it was. I hope that everyone has that type of mentality or thought process to improve the lives of those coming after us. There are always some, and I dealt with this thankfully, years ago. We had a master sergeant who was a flight chief, and we brought up the issues of our schedule that we were working. His response was something along the lines of, if they're not strong enough to be my Air Force, they need to get out. I don't agree with what he said at all, but the schedule at the time that we were dealing with was 6 days on, 3 days off, which is actually really amazing because you always have a 3-day weekend. The issue was the first 3 days you worked 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so 8-hour shifts. But the next 3 days you either worked 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And you had 3 days off, and then the 3 days after that, you will start at 6 a.m. If you did your first 3 days at 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., and your next 3 days were 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., you had to completely switch your sleep schedule within a day and a half, practically. And then after your third day of getting off work at 6 a.m., you had to adjust your entire sleep schedule within 3 days to go back to waking up and being ready to go work at 6 a.m. That schedule caused a lot of people to have mental health problems. There's a lot of people who went to ADAP because in order to get to bed, they had to drink to get to sleep. It was destroying a lot of people's lives. So, but he thought of it as they just need to earn their dues, or I don't know what he thought about it, actually. I never asked. And he didn't last long enough because after, I think, about 7 months of that schedule, we didn't have enough people to run a mission, and we had to say no, that we couldn't fly a mission. And that's very big deal. It was a very bad day for him. I'm glad that you enjoy where you work, although I kind of question your motives now because you were afraid that people were going to be mean to you all the time, but yet you still joined the military.
So I wanted to travel.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something new. Growing up, my parents and family were always telling me to join the military, but then I steered my way towards basketball in school. And then I kind of took a break, and that's when they stopped telling me to join the military, and I'll do anything that they won't tell me.
Yeah.
Growing up in that mentality. So I joined the military, and then it was debating on which branch to go to. So I had a lot of friends and families that were in all sorts of branches. They were in Navy, Army, they were in Coast Guard, and Air Force, and every single person has told me to go through the Air Force.
Yeah.
So, even my husband told me to go through the Air Force too. So I joined, and I was very nervous because everyone was preparing me for the worst, and I actually really liked it. I loved BMT. It wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
Tech school was nice. I got stuck there for a very long time due to orders.
Okay.
And then I came here, and I just love it. So
there's worse places to be stuck, right?
Yes.
Coming to Hawaii is rough, I know. I'm assuming that flying back home to Washington is probably pretty cheap for you. Flying into Seattle,
it's around $300 or so.
Oh wow!
It's not bad. It's a 5-hour flight.
Yeah.
But it'd probably, if once COVID is all over and everything, it'd probably be a planned, so it'd be a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely made the right decision with the Air Force. My father was Army, and I do remember when I was in my teens, he said if I ever join the military, make sure I don't join the Army. And I was like, but you did 20 years. He's like, exactly. Take it from someone who knows. He did field artillery, and he was a first sergeant, so obviously he did grunt work type stuff, out in field, and then he also did the admin side with the, dealing with the soldiers' problems and everything as a first sergeant. I do remember he was telling me about, his time as a first sergeant was both his worst and his best time in the service. So which kind of made me curious as to if I wanted to be a first sergeant. But then I went to Goodfellow to be an instructor, and I just kind of did a lot of first sergeant type stuff, and I was like, nah, I'm good. So I got my feel for that. Do you have a plan of staying in for 20 years, or are you just riding?
I'm kind of testing it, seeing if I wanted to do this. everyone's goal when they first come in is the 20 years, but it's more of experience. My experience has always been good, so we'll just see how I feel about it. I definitely want to. It's definitely a goal of mine. But, life changes.
It does.
So you can't really keep a promise on something like that.
Yeah, that's true. It's always good to stay open too, right? Never.
Always keep an open mind.
I have real issues when they're like, nope, this is my plan. It's like, cool. Mike Tyson said everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face, though, or mouth. I don't remember what he said, but still, I know that having a plan is good, but being rigid to that plan is probably not a good idea. So I've got a few random questions for you, trying to get a sense of who you are as a human being, as a person. We will start off with one that I like a lot, and it's, what do you do to make the world a better place? Maybe that's an assumption. Do you do things that make the world a better place?
Recycle.
There you go. All right.
Back in Washington, I used to volunteer. I helped coach basketball because basketball is my passion.
Yeah.
Still is. Love it. And then I also volunteered to be a club for a low poverty middle school.
Okay.
The girls were so happy and genuine that because me and my sister both did it.
Okay.
My sister volunteered for a year for AmeriCorps.
Okay.
So she kind of guided me to be a volunteer for clubs, and I absolutely loved it. I wish I did more of it.
Yeah. In the military, they're like, well, you need to volunteer more or something to that effect. I always, when people tell me that I need to volunteer, I don't want to volunteer. So I totally understand. I get the little rebel that you like to be with your parents as well. So for basketball, why is basketball your passion? I mean, no one can see you right now. If they could, they'd probably be like, she's like 5'2".
I get that a lot. So starting basketball in second grade.
Okay.
Always the shortest, and then I started it up in junior high. So I went from elementary to high school to college. And high school is when I started doing select club basketball. So I'd travel and get noticed by college scouts and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then I had offers to go out of state to 4 years and all of that, to go to Canada too.
That's cool.
But I wasn't ready to leave home. So I just stayed at a little community college close to home. But I loved the coach there. I loved my teammates there. And then after my 2 years of that college, I had offers to go and continue, but I just wasn't feeling school anymore. So I took a break from that, and then that's when I decided to join the military.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, I don't play basketball. I'm horrible at it, which I thought I would be really good at because I understand physics. But yeah, no. Just because I understand it does not mean I can put it into practice and application. So I don't. Basketball is one of those sports that I would just rather watch than play.
I absolutely love basketball. I was a very in high school. It was school and sports. So
Okay.
I was a all year round sports athlete in high school as well as select ball. So in the fall, I'd be doing my select ball and high school volleyball. And then basketball season would come, so select ball would stop. And then once that would end, I would do track and select ball. And then summer was basketball all year round. So
what was your event in track?
I did high hurdles, low hurdles, and then I did it would always change between the 4x4 relay or any relay. In general, I always got stuck with the 4x4 though.
I didn't mind the 4x4. I really liked the 4x8. I like the 800 because I felt like it was the worst event because it's practically a sprint for 2 laps. So the mile, you're not really sprinting the whole time, depending on who you are, I guess. But the 800 was always, it felt to me like it was the most painful, and I wasn't fast enough to do. In my school, we had 212 people on our track team in high school, and the 400, all this, we'd put the soccer players and the football players on the 400 because they were always the sprinters and just they could just fly, especially one dude named Jeremy. It's like a gazelle. It was weird. And he had these really long legs, and he kind of when he was sprinting, he would do a split in midair, and that would be his stride. like I don't even know, I couldn't measure that, but it's probably like 18 feet per stride. I was like, it was ridiculous. So
No, I hated the 4x4. I also hated the low hurdles because it was a 300.
Yep.
And I hate running.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was good at it. It was just very boring for me.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
high hurdles are 300 as well, right?
high
330.
hurdles are 100.
Oh, okay.
And then the low hurdles are 300.
So you want to be done with the hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to be done with the run.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. I don't blame you. What about, do you watch a lot of movies?
Yes.
What movie can you watch over and over without getting tired of?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably I'm a big horror movie person, so probably like The Conjuring.
Okay.
Probably. I like watching that a lot. Or
Yeah.
like one of the Saw movies. Only because it's very intriguing on how everything came to be and the traps and everything. I'm just
Yeah.
a very big horror movie fan. I mean, I love romance too and everything, but horror movies are my favorite thing.
Yeah. I will say that when Saw came out, I think it was so shocking because people were so probably impressed with the amount of like thought that went into those types of, the situations that the people were put in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like half they're also kind of freaked out, like these people are sick. Like this is diabolical. But it was also like, this is really cool.
It's
so I can understand.
Just seeing the traps and then like at the end how like the person that was doing it, how it happened.
Right.
Like
what led him to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So horror movies. So this kind of goes in line with that. In the past, people were buried with the items they would need in the afterlife. What would you want to be buried with so that you could use it in the afterlife?
Ooh. Man. That's a hard one. Probably.
I do not think you'll have cell reception. I'm going to let you know right now. So if it's your cell phone, I don't know how old you are. I didn't ask that, obviously, because we don't ask that of female guests. So I'm not sure if you are like, let's go with what people think of a typical millennial, and completely attached to your cell phone, or it's attached to you at all times. So I don't know if maybe that was a bad assumption on my part.
It's okay. No, I mean, I've been more like, don't get me wrong, I love my phone because I mean, I can watch movies and all of that. But probably for the afterlife, probably like a hammock because I love hammocking. Probably my basketball shoes. You gotta be ready to hoop anywhere. And I don't know. I mean, it's not an item. I'd probably say my dog though.
That's fine. Hopefully the dog passes before you do, because if you're buried with him.
Or passes at the same time.
There you go. I mean, that'd be very odd. Hopefully it wasn't an accident or something, but I can see that. Let's go with died at the same time, buried at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Let's not do like Pet Cemetery.
Oh, no.
Type.
No.
Like passed away, went to Pet Cemetery.
No.
Okay.
Definitely not.
So, which celebrity do you think is the most down to earth?
Oh, man. I was just talking to my sister about this.
I know. No, I'm joking.
Who were we talking about? Oh, who was it? Oh, this is gonna make me go crazy.
What movie was this person in?
I can't even remember. It was, I can't even remember. But, oh man, this is gonna make me go crazy.
Was it male or female?
Male.
Keanu Reeves?
No.
Okay. I know he's the first person I think of whenever I think of like a celebrity that's down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Like he still rides the subway. He gives away a majority of his money
Mm-hmm.
to charities and stuff like that.
But
People he works with.
He's also a very amazing actor too.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I can't remember who it was, but they were just super genuine. I mean, like those crazy fans, because we used to watch YouTube a lot.
Yeah.
All the crazy fans. This celebrity would remember them because they'd pop up whenever because it would be like following him.
Yeah.
He would always remember them, and it was just super nice and genuine. And I don't remember who it was, but I like celebrities that always donates money and everything like that.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is definitely a big, huge example.
Yeah.
Not many celebrities, and that makes me very upset about it, aren't like that.
I think a lot of them might be, and you just wouldn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
So I do know that, I guess, Jeff Bezos, is, the leader of Amazon, or the CEO of Amazon. There was a news article recently that said something along the lines of he's like on track to be the first trillionaire in the world.
Yes.
Someone came out and said, like, the fact that we have the ability to become a trillionaire, like, shows the issues with the world, right? And that there's no reason, like, no one needs even $1 billion to live. So the fact that you have almost, 1,000 times that as your worth, I think that there are a lot of situations where we wouldn't know. I mean, I think we're starting to see it a little bit more now that everyone's got a cell phone and a camera attached to them. But I know that, like, Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber, a lot of the Marvel cast, they always, they get dressed up or they go and see people in hospitals and things like that. And a lot of people, a lot of times they ask, like, hey, this isn't for social media. This isn't for anything else. This is just, me and a fan, or me and someone who needs a smile or something to that effect. So I think that might actually happen a little bit more than we know.
It's just more of a hidden kind of thing. They would rather see like all the bad things that happen with the celebrities and hide all the good stuff.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that's what sells clicks and things like that. So, which is, let's go with another issue that we have in society right now. I would like to hope that it happens a lot more than I know or that I see. But I don't live in the news, and I don't, study pop culture or things like that. So I wouldn't know a lot of that. So I hope it happens a lot more than I would think. What about annoying animals? You have a dog. All right. But if animals could talk, obviously you'd probably want to talk to your dog, and you want your dog to talk back. Maybe. I don't know what type of dog you have. So
I have a Shepsky, so German Shepherd Husky.
Okay. So I imagine him to have, he's a boy, correct? She. See, assumption. So I assume that she has a very sweet, maybe like a northern accent, because German Shepherd Husky. I don't know why. That's just first thing that popped in my head. But if animals could talk, who do you think would be the most annoying to talk to, or have the most annoying voice?
Guinea pigs.
Okay. Why guinea pigs?
Because
you think they'd sound a little squeaky and everything?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like whenever I see a guinea pig, they're always like skittish. They're always scared of everything, and I feel like they'd be talking to themselves because of like how stress and like the anxiety that they would be having with their little high pitched voice.
They do look stressed.
Yes.
Yeah. But do you think that's because that's, your size versus theirs? I have no idea how tall you are. I said 5'2" earlier, but let's go with, 5'2". If you're 5'2" and they are just 2, that's like 60 inches, 62 inches above. Nope, just 60. Yeah, I don't do math. But still, like, that's 60 inches towering above them. So I don't know.
I'm also like thinking of like the big animals. Like giraffes wouldn't be, because they're just kind of do their own thing.
Yeah.
Same with like hippos.
Yeah. Are you thinking Madagascar right now? Yeah, me too.
Like all of them, they all seem pretty chill. But then I don't really see very many like skittish, like high anxiety, like big animals. Probably because they're all big and they all seem small.
Yeah.
So I'd probably have to go with like the little small like guinea pigs and hamsters and stuff.
Yeah, I can see sea turtles being super chill. Like, not even because of like Finding Nemo or anything, but they just, even whenever they're on land and they're flopping back to the ocean, they're not like, freaking out and things like that. They're just, nice and calm and moving. I don't know. I don't know they're not walking. They are paddling back to the ocean. I don't really know I don't know what that verb is, actually. But I could see them being pretty chill. And manatees. Manatees would probably be really chill, because they just, all they do is eat some plants and flip around. Yeah. All right. Are there any languages that you'd like to learn?
Definitely. I would like to learn. So my dad's Filipino.
Okay.
And my mom is Guamanian.
Okay.
So I'd like to learn their languages, Tagalog and Chamorro.
Yeah.
I guess my mom tried teaching me when I was younger, Chamorro, but I was too stubborn to learn. So.
You've already explained that you're a rebel to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they said, "Hey, you shouldn't learn this," you're like, "No, I'm going to learn this."
But
if your parents are listening to this, you need to let them know. It's like you messed up.
But I definitely want to learn those. Spanish, I feel like it'd always be good to know Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Spanish it seems really easy.
It's really hard.
It is very hard. There's like 27 countries that speak Spanish, and each one of them has their own dialect and slang and everything. So one of the toughest schools at Goodfellow is the Spanish course, and you wouldn't think so, but you have a lot of native speakers that are going through the course, but then they get in there and there's, Panamanian slang or, Colombian slang or, like cover terms that they use, like turtle in place of tank, and it goes extremely fast. There's a lot that fail out because of that. It's very difficult. I think that Spanish seems really easy, especially I grew up in Florida, and I could have full conversations in Spanish with friends. Then I'd learned Korean and lost every bit of Spanish, including like the ability to count to 10 at one point. That was really rough. Spanish is always good. I agree. The 65% of the United States is able to speak or understand Spanish. So if you wanted to stay in the States, that's always going to be good. And a Latin-based language, you've got, Portuguese, Spanish, French, all of those in Basque. It's like a type of French as well, northeast side of it. So they've got their own language, and Latin-derived languages. Learning those, I think, would help you in a lot of different areas. So I agree with you on that. Tagalog, there's a few different dialects of that. I think there's like 6 or 4 primary, something like that. When you go to the Philippines, it sounds really nice, but then when you hear certain individuals like speaking it, like in Korea, there's a whole bunch of young Filipino women who were like yelling at each other a lot, and it sounded like ducks quacking, and I was just like, that is not an attractive one. Like, I've been to the Philippines, and it sounded really nice. I don't know. Obviously, they could have been the Fran Dreschers of the Philippines. I had no idea. So, do you read a lot?
Here and there.
Yeah. Do you prefer fiction, nonfiction? Are you a self-help kind of girl? Are you
So there was this book that I read. It's called, what is it called? I think it's like called A Man and a Dog's Journey or something like that. It was about a man that was in the military, but then he started a journey with his dog that was sick.
Okay.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It was a good book. Cried a few times in it.
Yeah. So it's nonfiction. It was about a true story. That's good.
So I like those. I also like fiction. Anything. It's really hard for me to get in a book though. Like, I always have to read like the first few pages to see how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Like, it took me a while to start Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But I got to it. So
Yeah. Did you go through all of the Harry Potter books?
No.
Okay.
Not all of them.
Now when they start popping out videos or movies about it, you're just like, all right, whatever.
Like, well, I'll go pick the movies instead.
Yeah. I did try. When Harry Potter came out, I was at DLI. And so instead of reading, it might have came out before that, I'm not sure. But I do remember I hadn't read them yet. So I thought that I would try reading Harry Potter in Korean. It was a horrible idea. I think I was reading through, and obviously I didn't really know Korean yet. So it was very time consuming and difficult. I spent about 15 minutes trying to figure out what Hermione was, because that was not in any Korean dictionary. I asked other Korean teachers, and all of them were, none of them either had kids or had read Harry Potter or anything like that. But normally at the end of a name, it has, the syllable she, so it lets you know it's a Mr. or a Miss, kind of like in Japanese they say san, assuming Chinese has a similar situation, but it didn't have she at the end of it, and I could not figure out. I was like, maybe this is all right. What's the try to figure out if it's a verb, it's a conjugated verb that's got some random like ending that I haven't seen yet. Thankfully, one of the teachers, her daughter, I taught martial arts to downtown. I saw her daughter was reading Harry Potter, and so I asked, or I picked up the book and I was looking, and I realized that it was a girl's name, and I was like. I asked teachers, like, is this right here? Is that a? She's like, yeah, that's English. I was like, that's not English. Well, I mean, it might be English, but I've never heard of that name. Like, I've never Hermione. Maybe it's a common name in England. I have no idea. I'll have to ask a British person. So, I read the first 3 books of Harry Potter in Korean first, and then I read them in English. It's like, this is not what I thought was happening at all. And the movies came out, and just like, did I not read those books? Like, I don't remember that. So, it is very interesting. If there's a video or if there's a movie on it, do you just prefer to watch the movie?
Definitely. But then I hear like there's some stuff in the books that aren't in the movies.
Yeah.
And that intrigues me to read the books.
Yeah.
And then I like to rewatch the movies just to compare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like watching movies as well. I try to take in as much information as possible, whether it's good or bad, applicable to life or not. So it's really easy to go through an hour and a half movie or 2-hour movie versus reading a book, but there are a lot of times where the book gives you so much more because your brain can build a completely different visual of what you see. So some people like doing that as well. Other people just prefer the book because it's so much more vivid in their mind. And then a movie, there's like, well, that was crap. Like, why would you even think that's the way it should look? Things like that. So I can see that. Do you Google a lot?
Yes.
What's the last thing you Googled?
The last thing I Googled, what was the last thing?
If it's inappropriate, we can cut it out.
No, it's definitely not inappropriate. It was something, I think it was something about, it was about a movie because we were watching it. No, it was a TV show. So there's this TV show on Netflix. It's like, it came out recently. It's called like Winx, and it's like a saga. And I was like, that name sounds really familiar. So I Googled up Winx, and it was actually like a childhood show that I used to watch.
Winx?
It's like about fairies.
Okay.
But I was like, the name sounded familiar, so I Googled it, and it was actually like a cartoon that I used to watch as a kid.
Oh, interesting. Is it safe for a 7-year-old, the show on Netflix?
No, it's kind of, sort of.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't.
My youngest daughter loves fairies. So,
really?
Yeah.
I'd probably steer her towards a cartoon more than the actual show.
All right. I'll see if Winx, the cartoon, is available. Different type of question, more internal to you. What do you think, or let's say, what goal do you think humanity is not focused on enough? You said you recycle. Do you think humanity recycles enough?
No.
I don't think so either, but I also think that recycling is now more financially driven. So like a Goodfellow Air Force Base where I was an instructor at, because it's in the middle of West Texas, they stopped doing any type of recycling unless it's for heavy metals, because they get more money for heavy metals, and they don't make any profit off of recycling glass or plastics and things like that. I didn't think that was the point, but
it blows my mind on how many, like, a lot of people say like money doesn't buy you happiness, but with the world going on, it's like they will do anything for money. Like, anything about life is all about money and everything like that. And I feel like that's definitely not true. And I feel like I mean, as a kid growing up, I used to play outside. Like, we didn't care for money whatsoever. Like 50 cents probably to get the ice cream truck, you know? Other than that, like, we'd be outside creating like our own world to play and everything like that. But now with like kids these days, it's more driven inside, also because of COVID and everything like that too. So I just don't think the world is how it was when I was little, and it's definitely changed in the matter of what drives, like, what can we do to get kids to buy this for like their parents to buy it for their kids. And it's more of like game systems and all of that sorts. So I think it's just more of like a money situation with the economy in the world. I wish that we did not have to care about money in the world like that.
Yeah.
So,
Is there something better we should be focusing on as a species?
health.
Health?
Yes.
Like in all aspects?
More of, I mean, yes. I know that like COVID has been like the biggest health concern right now. Many have had worse experiences than others. Many have passed from it.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that like us as a world is necessarily caring for that, because not many people had the worst experience than others, so they don't really take it as seriously.
Yeah.
So I think we could be doing better in like caring for one another, because I feel like everyone's very self-driven. Like they don't really care about anyone else but themselves or like their friends or their loved ones. But I feel like we should be caring as a whole about everyone. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is kind of, let's go with sad, because it's not funny at all.
no.
It's sad that people don't care about something until it affects them.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it affects them personally or it affects someone they care for, they don't care about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I have a few friends who did not really care about COVID or anything like that. Or there's a lot of people who have different opinions on the transgenders in the military, things like that. I was talking with my wife last night about one of the people that I had to deal with in tech school who did not believe that women should be in the military. And he was yelling at a female airman because she missed class because she was on quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't made aware of why she missed class, but he began yelling at her and like shouting as to, this is why women shouldn't be in the military and things like that. And thankfully, he was removed from the Air Force. He's not a lone wolf in the situation. There are people who, even probably today, unfortunately, that still think that way, and it's kind of shocking to me. I have to try to take a step back and try to figure out, why does this person feel this way, regardless if I agree with it or not. Why would someone think that way? And I can't put myself in their position to where I could make myself like kind of see their side, because I've never really had a conversation with someone who does feel like that. Hopefully they're not in the military if I do have a conversation with that, and it'd be very difficult for me to sit here, especially depending on their rank, right? As an A1C, you affect everyone's EPRs and all of their personnel issues that people come up with, and you see every single individual in both your squadron and the group. And if you felt that a certain individual shouldn't be in the military, let's say our roles were reversed and I was in the CSS, and as a master sergeant, let's say I had a female airman working for me, would you, as a female, be able to trust someone like me if I was the type that didn't believe that you should be even in the same uniform as me? Like, that'd be very difficult. And I don't want to be so closed off and think that doesn't exist. Just because I don't think that way does not mean that there isn't a master sergeant male out there who thinks that way. I don't know. That kind of bothers me, and I think that we don't have enough conversations with people to really fully understand where people are coming from. I have no idea how we got on that tangent, I'll be honest with you.
Because I think that us, like the economy and the world as a whole, should be caring about others more than themselves.
I'll go with that.
Yep.
Yep. I'll ask one more question before I let you go here, and I did not ask your age. Are you at least 21?
I am 22.
Okay, you're 22. All right, so that's good. Currently, you do not imbibe alcohol because of your medical condition.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's good. Do you drink alcohol?
Yes.
Okay, when you're not
Yes.
eating for two. You mentioned ice cream truck earlier, with the, like 50 cents, where 50 cents actually bought an ice cream back in the day. Now it's like $3.50
it's
for an ice cream sandwich. I was like, are you
in
serious?
Like the ice cream trucks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So in your mind, what would the adult version of an ice cream truck sell, and what song would it play?
Ooh. An adult version would probably be like, I'm thinking, because there's going to be a lot of like grabbing and stuff that needs to be like wrapped and everything. I'm thinking like Jello shots. That's what I'm thinking.
All right.
Because it's more of an adult thing. Because I mean, if you do like regular shots, that's just a lot more work. And if it's in a truck, you're kind of wanting to grab and go.
Yeah. I mean, shots are pretty grab and go.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's not already poured.
Yeah.
Then it would take some more time. So I'm thinking like gel shots are easy. They're easy to grab and go.
What song would it play?
Probably Shots by Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Or Lil Jon. Lil Jon.
Is it Lil Jon?
Mm-hmm. Not Lil Wayne.
It's not Lil Wayne. Yeah. Yeah, no, just the voice does not match Lil Wayne. Yeah. I think I had an answer to this a few interviews ago, and it's still my go-to. It's going to be tacos and margaritas.
Ooh, that'd be yummy.
And they would play the song Tequila. You know, like
Tequila.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So I think that would be my go-to. I try to think of something different. I don't think I would want anything different. Like if there's a margarita and taco truck driving through the neighborhood,
I would go.
Yeah, I would chase that beast down. See, that's when you enjoy running.
Yes.
Whenever it's to get margaritas at the end of it.
That's actually a pretty smart idea.
Right? I know. I don't plan on doing something like that after I get out of the military. I can retire in a couple of years, but I'm not opposed to that. Obviously, business partner with the wife, because I'm not allowed to make margaritas for her because apparently I'm a little heavy on the hand with pouring.
But aren't those like the greatest?
I think so. So I've made a few people sick, so because it's too strong. But I'm a Korean linguist and I spent 5 years in Korea, so heavy-handed, situations are kind of our thing. So all right. Well, I want to thank you for obviously agreeing to the interview, whether you knew what you were going to be here for or not. Is there anything that you'd like to say to your flight or squadron or group leadership? I mean, anything that you have some parting shots for them?
For the squadron and for the group in general as a whole, thank you for being patient with me and for letting me help you, and for the CSS and the flight leadership. Thank you for taking me under your wing and teaching me everything that I have learned so far, and for continuing to teach me everything that I will need to know to move on.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, you too, sir.
That was a conversation with Libby Borgonia from the 392nd Intelligence Squadron's Commander Support Staff. She was nominated for Bragging on My Airman by her flight chief, Master Sergeant Glenn Giron, who has recently taken the reins in the Commander Support Staff and quickly recognized the amazing job that A1C Borgonia was doing and the active role she was taking in learning all aspects of her job and the additional roles that our personnelists are starting to bear. A recurring theme you may hear from Libby is her respect for genuine people, something we should all strive to be more of for ourselves and the world around us. If you have any ideas, recommendations for future podcast shows, or guests that you'd like to hear from, let us know by going to any of the socially acceptable means of communication and leave us a comment. Facebook URL is facebook.com/group/692D podcast. The email is simply 692dpodcast@gmail.com, and you can always leave us a message on the Mattermost channel. If you can't get to any of those, send me an email at derek.addison@us.af.mil, and I'll respond as soon as possible. That's the show for today. So for now, aloha, take care of yourself, and if you can, take care of someone else too.